Welcome back to Season 2 of Traumedy, the podcast that helps you transmute your trauma with comedy. It's not a replacement for trauma therapy, but it will help you get by between sessions. I'm your host, Nancy Norton. I am a comedian. I'm a former nurse. As many of you know, I got out of healthcare for the same reason a lot of you got into it, to save lives. I'm healing with humor now. I'm studying therapeutic humor, and I'm a big advocate for gallows humor and dark humor, which is what nurses, first responders, trauma survivors really need. I got written up in nursing school for my dark humor after clinicals when we would go back and discuss our day with our fellow nurses. And it turns out I actually was being of service, and I was helping people express vicarious trauma. Traumedy is peer-to-peer sharing, co-healing our trauma wounds with comedy. This year, I'm so excited to be starting off first 3 guests, the Growlix guys, Andrew Orvidal, Adam Cayton-Holland, and Ben Roy. This is going to be a fantastic start. We have so many cool guests coming up. We have Pete McGraw will be coming up soon. He's the author of The Humor Code, Shtick to Business, and he has a brand new book he's going to talk about. I'm going to be doing a little comedy at his solo salon, February 1st. I am a keynote speaker. I love to go around and talk to businesses, conferences about the power of humor, how it helps with creative problem solving, team building, health, families. As always, share this with a friend. The main goal of Traumedy is to help heal ourselves and others. Let's keep paying it forward. Hey, are you a healthcare worker or have you ever been a patient? Do you want to hear some comedy about healthcare? I'm producing shows called Nurses Off the Charts. I'm going to start touring. Right now we have a couple of dates coming up in Colorado. Click on my link tree. There'll be a link for that in the show notes if you want to find out about upcoming shows. Also going to be doing some simulcast of the shows. So if you're anywhere in the country or around the world, you can tune in. And also, I do have on my link tree a place to push a button and talk to me, leave a 90-second story, and I'll incorporate it in a show. That's Nurses Off the Charts, a comedy show for nurses and healthcare workers and anyone who loves nurses or has ever been a patient. Welcome to Traumedy. I am a little nervous this morning because, first of all, it's morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm on my second cup of Earl Grey and a little bit of ADHD medication. And I have a very special guest who makes me a little bit nervous, I'll tell you the truth, because he came up when I left for Nepal to adopt my son, and I didn't get to know him as he came up in the scene. And then when I got back, he was famous. It was crazy. You may know him from Those Who Can't, the sitcom. He's a third of the Growlix from the Growlix podcast. Growlix Saves the World. And then so many things. Producer of the High Plains Comedy Festival, a writer. I don't know. What can't you do? It's Adam Cayton-Holland, everybody. Yay.
Yay.
Woo. I should put my applause thing on. I have one. I haven't used it. Welcome.
No worries. We'll provide it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for taking the time, because I know it's a crunch. You just dropped your son off at school, or both kids. Are they both in school?
I dropped my 5-year-old off at school, and the wife is taking the 2-year-old to music class.
Oh my God, it's so cute. 2-year-old. I took my son to 2-year-old music class. We got kicked out.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. At first they were really cool with him running around, and then all of a sudden it wasn't okay, and then I couldn't hold him down, so we had to leave.
That sounds very much like my 2-year-old. He's a beast, and he just runs and runs and runs, but he does like the music a lot, so he claps and sings. So maybe it was that he has like a sort of, he's throwing them a bone that he likes the music, but he is wilding out most of the time.
Okay, well, at least I hope they let him wild out. I mean, these kids today, they need to wild out. Yeah. I want to hear, so listen, as I want to introduce you to my listeners, and we're here obviously to talk about what I call Traumedy, coping with trauma using comedy, which comedians do naturally, and you have done very well. But I want to know you a little bit more. Like as far as like, hey man, when did you start stand up? Where was I in Nepal? Was it in the
Yeah.
2000s?
It's funny you say that because I feel that's really true. Like you and I both know and I think respect each other, but we don't know each other at all. Like I don't know you very well and you don't know me very well, just because we kind of came up at different times. But yeah, I started comedy in 2004. So that's a while ago. But I don't know where you were at that time, but that was right when I started. And I was a writer for the alt weekly in Denver called Westward. And I was kind of doing both. And then I started doing comedy, and then that took over, and been doing it full time since like 2010.
That's amazing.
So,
yeah, that's
yeah.
exactly where I was. My son was born in 2004. I went to Nepal in the fall of 2004 and stayed 6 months. And then, of course, I don't know, I was building a house in the mountains and then went through a sociopathic breakup and adopted a child at the same time. It was a lot of fun. So I was a little out of it as far as the comedy goes. And
I think you could be forgiven for not paying attention to my silly career at the time. That's all good.
Well, it's weird to me. The most I've heard you, and the reason I was like really been wanting to have you on here is because of hearing you on, I think it was Terry Gross on NPR, or maybe it was CPR. I'm not sure, but I know it was on the NPR app, and I heard this interview, and I thought, oh my gosh, I know he's a regular at Comedy Works. I've seen little bits of him, but I had no idea the depth and the sensitivity that you had that just moved me. It moved me to tears when I heard your interview about your book and your sister, Tragedy Plus Time.
Thank you.
Oh man, it's so important. And the point of this podcast is to, I'm studying therapeutic humor right now. So I'm kind of mixing my worlds of, nursing, kind of wanting to be a healer, but not being a very good nurse, honestly, because I have ADHD. I'm very intuitive. I know what you need, but I forget to do it. And then wanting to heal with humor now. I'm studying therapeutic humor and talking about how it actually is such an empowering tool to help us transcend and transmute trauma. Have you found that to be? I mean, have you found that in your case? I mean, obviously, your book is about tragedy plus time. So,
I have found it. I mean, my book is about losing my little sister to suicide, and it was the worst thing ever. But I wrote the book because I didn't really know what else to do. I was just like drowning. And it wasn't even the book. I wrote it. It all happened, and I was kicking butt in comedy. I had just become a new face at the Montreal Just for Laughs thing. Like literally,
wow.
I went and did that, and I came home, and 2 days later, my sister took her own life. So it was like,
wow, what a combination. Oh,
yeah, my little dumb career track exploding in a way it never had before. And then, my home life and my family just imploding and right at the same time. And so I didn't really feel like doing comedy anymore. I just kind of stopped. I was like, can't do this. And I've always written stuff. So I just wrote this big, long screed about everything that happened because it had been a big buildup with trips to the psych ward and just this hellish year before that. And I wrote all about it, and I just kind of posted it on my website. Remember when we had blogs? I just blogged it, and it sort of exploded, and that set the path for a book. That's a lit agent found me, and then I wrote the book, and honestly, it helped me process a lot. Like I didn't sit down to write the book because I was like, got my thoughts, ready to share.
Yeah.
I found my thoughts through the writing. And so, it helped a lot, but it wasn't comedy, Nancy. It had to be writing. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And it's not one thing. It's that creative process. And one of the things, I don't know, it's just hit me, and maybe this is, common knowledge, but to me, when it hits you personally, you're like, if I don't express this, it is making such an impression on me and making me ill and just imploding in the darkness and the heaviness. So to express it, whether it's comedy, drama, writing, I mean, just getting it out of you. And then the connection, I'm sure what people, obviously, the authentic connection, that's what people need, and especially about things like, I mean, my God, first of all, so sorry that you lost your sister. I mean, what I was so moved by in that interview was how you honored her and her sensitivities and how hard it was to be here with that level of sensitivity. And that's when I actually could kind of cry right now, because
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like, I got teary. Sorry, I gotta breathe.
No, it's okay.
one
I
one of the
understand.
things that those of us that are sort of sensitive are just mocked for, and it's like, for
Oh
you, I
yeah.
was so touched because as a comedian, you didn't not only not mock it, you revered it, and it was just
No,
beautiful.
Lydia, yeah, exactly. I think you've got a dose of it as well. It's probably what drew you to nursing, but like this extreme empathy. And like for my sister, it was, to an insane degree of like, you better not kill a bug. If you did, like if she saw a piece of animal hit on the side of the road, she would like, recite a prayer for it. And we're not religious, but like her own little prayer, like
Yeah.
she was just any life, how big or small, she felt, and she was super sensitive. And I think that is a great thing, and not something that should be mocked. Obviously, I think it made her plight harder because there's a lot of pain and suffering in the world, and it would just knock her out, and she would really get sad about things that were like, other people would just be like, it sucks, it's horrible, let's move on. She would dwell there a lot. But I admire her sensitivity. She's a beautiful soul, and
Yeah.
I felt I felt like I had to pay her proper respect, and because I really loved her, and she was super funny. So I also didn't want it to just be this like saccharine eulogy. I wanted it to express who she was, and so that's why I wrote it versus taking it to the stage. Because honestly, at that time, I didn't think I possessed the skill set to go on stage and pay her the proper tribute. You know what I mean? But I
Absolutely.
did.
Yeah.
I did think I could write it. So I that's why I did it, because I was just like, no, I'm not. I don't want to do a hatchet job or a B- job
Yeah.
of this tribute. So at the time, the only skill I felt I could do that with was writing.
Oh, beautiful. And it's such, I have not read it because I got to get it on Audible. I I have some attention. I have some attention and focus issues.
No worries at all.
But it's like, it's been one of those things like, I am going to read that book. And then now it's been out since 2000. When did it come out?
I think 2018.
W- Wow.
Yeah, 2018. I tell
Wow.
people like it's heavy and it's sad, and clearly we've discussed what the subject matter is, but it also, I'm proud. People tell me it's like laugh out loud funny, and I wanted it to be like my sister. Like I
Yeah.
wanted it to feel like you'd get to know her, and to know her was to be like, oh my god, this is a sharp motherfucker. Like this is a really really funny, acerbic,
Yeah.
sweet, sensitive girl, and I wanted all that to come across.
Oh man, I'm super motivated, and of course I'll put a link to that in the show links, so that people can find it too. And I was
Sure.
just what I keep picturing is an arm stretched to the sky and one down to the depths of the earth, like that kind of range, And that's one of the things that Traumedy, like I want to mix the light with the dark, like there. Like I don't want to sacrifice any of it. I
Yeah.
really don't like just living like neck up. You know what I mean? Like, woo, let's all just be up in here now. I really love all of it, and the integration, I guess. And that kind of brings us back to some of the work we've both done with EMDR and some of the trauma therapies where you integrate, those places that get kind of walled off in your brain that are those traumatized, encapsulated, really dark, dense places that we learn to somehow integrate with our whole being and get resourced. Have you done? I know that I saw there, that you wrote a beautiful article about EMDR being your
Yeah.
drug of
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I did EMDR, and it was amazing for me. I mean, that the people who don't know the whole story is I also like found my little sister. And so that was obviously quite traumatizing.
Oh man.
And so that really fucked me up. Like,
Man, I'm just like, I'm hugging my own shoulders, like trying to hug you, like, oh my God, somebody.
yeah. So
Uh,
it was a double whammy of like losing your best friend and then having this like awful scene in your head. And I was having all the nightmares and flashbacks and like, obtrusive thoughts and all that stuff. And so it was messing me up. And I was like, I wasn't suicidal, but I was veering that way. And I just didn't really care if I lived or died. Like I didn't care. And I was like, so out of it. I just remember Nancy having like bruises on me from just bumping into stuff. You know what I mean? Just like wandering through the world clueless.
yeah, your frontal lobe, when you're in PTSD, your frontal lobe is just not online. It just
Oh
isn't.
yeah.
And I relate to that. Like finding a bruise and go, when did that happen? That's
Right.
wild that you mentioned that. That's crazy. I never have heard anybody talk about that, but now I'm like, oh, I know what you mean when you're not in your body. You're sort of
You
a
just like
ghost.
walking down the street and suddenly you just nail a newspaper kiosk because you're just like, what am I? You're not even there, you know? But so I tried a number of therapists and I didn't like them. And my family's always just think we're smarter than everybody. It's kind of a curse. Like it's not a good quality. So like every therapist, we're just like, all right, asshole. Like, what's your attitude? And so that's not a good way to go into therapy. But that's how I was doing it. And finally, like my regular doctor was just like told me about EMDR, and I was like, I'll give it a try. And I found this therapist who was just so good. And I've since learned she's like a world expert. And I just lucked into like a really top notch one because I've spoken a lot about EMDR and I've had a lot of people tell me they've had horrible experiences with it. And I'm like, well, I always say, it's the practitioner. It's like anything. Like some people are better than others. And I think I found a really good one who really, really helped me.
And really, when they know how to set it up so that you have resources before you get triggered, where you have the container and I ended up doing brain spotting, which is similar. And then my therapist.
What is that?
Well,
what's that?
it's a way of using your eyes while also doing something like EMDR, where you either have buzzers in your hands or headphones on that causes your brain to cross midline like EMDR, but then you also focus your eyes. In my case, one eye.
Yeah.
on a point. Like, how when you're thinking about something, you don't realize how long you've been staring at a spot? Like, it's sort of like that. Like, it's like she sometimes will have a wand. I learned to just do it on my own, but you would follow the tip of this wand, and then you can feel when the activation gets higher that you
Wow.
and then you just stay on that one spot. It's like it's a little, the way she described it is a little more pointed than EMDR. It's also, but it's very similar. And then she also helped me find a resource spot, which is usually for me, for whatever reason, it's up, and it's not for everybody, but then I call it my God spot, like my G spot. I was like, I feel this, I feel pure bliss. And so then I've got this buoyancy of the resource spot. So if I get too triggered and scared, I can go to this other, I can kind of dip the light with the dark and titrate it to my comfort level, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds amazing. It sounds hard.
It isn't really. I mean, I think it's easier in a way because it just pulls you in all of a sudden. And I can just be talking to her and like, yeah, kind of how you do sometimes when you're not really activated, but you're thinking about it. But then once I look at that spot and have those headphones on, it's like, whoo, I go right in there and become whatever age that this thing occurred. And then, I don't know, and then start integrating it. So it doesn't, I mean, the goal of EMDR and a lot of trauma therapy obviously is so that you don't get taken over and like become, because it's a survival part of us that we get taken over by, and then you feel powerless to it. So I guess the goal is to get a sense of empowerment, integrate it, and, have those parasympathetic resource exercises. I don't know. Did you work on breath work or anything?
Not really. You study this, so you know the terms. For me, it was all about metaphors. Like every therapist I ever went to has a metaphor for the brain, and they love metaphors. But the best EMDR metaphor that the woman I worked with told me was like, brain's a filing cabinet and you've got an errant file. And so we're going to file that file away, and it's there to access when you want it, but you get to choose when you access it. And so that was what I was told was the goal of EMDR. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Let's get to it. And so that was how I learned it, not in any sort of actual clinical, biological terms, but just a metaphor that a stupid old me could grasp.
Stupid old you. Yeah, right. But also, I think that's brilliant. I'll bet you that she gets intuition about which metaphors for which people, people like you who obviously very intellectual, filing cabinet, but it makes perfect sense. And then I was picturing one file, one file you open, not just an errant, but it's I don't even know the word. You know what I just realized?
Yeah, it's splayed out in the back of the filing cabinet with papers everywhere. And you're just we got to get this shit in order and put it back in there.
But when you open it, it has one of those weird, I almost want to say a rattlesnake in there or something, that just it scares, scares you to death, literally. And just that feeling of, gotta when I want to deal with that rattlesnake, I will know how to handle it. I will be able to recognize it and actually transmute it back into it's not a snake, it's a memory.
It's also
it's a horrible memory.
It's a horrible memory, but what I've written about this and said this, but what's unfair is that memory gets such prominence. My sister died at 28. And the last year was hell, but there were good memories in that last year too. But by and large, 27 great years with my sister. And yet this gets to be the final thought. That's not fair, Yeah.
So out of proportion with reality. It's so
out of proportion to my experience with the person, which was incredibly great, save for a year of rough stuff. And then this last memory. So it was very powerful to be fuck you. You don't get to be the final statement on my sister.
Yeah, like that. And again, that honors her. But it was a survival thing, and have a little, obviously, kind of a fuck you, but also your brain is trying to okay, we got to be prepared to get blindsided at any moment. That's the reality of it is okay, that changes you. Trauma does change you. And you're sort of on the lookout because, wow, I did not see that coming, or just that shock of the trauma is just your body trying to help you survive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I know but I really appreciate that perspective because it does. And negative thoughts in general get more bandwidth. And that's just sad, isn't it? Just in general in our lives, why do those?
I think so. Yeah. It is sad. I've had a lot of soul searching, and as a result of this, and just by being a human being, and it's so easy to be oh, everything sucks, but it's I do try to shift into oh, life's a gift. None of it's promised. You don't know why you're here. This is a miracle. Soak it up, man. And it's hard to stay in that part of your brain because we're pessimistic, cynical comedians, and we whatever. But it is very much you're not owed anything, and you get to wake up and breathe and look at birds and feel sunshine. It's all right. It's all right.
Man, I did, my little bit of cramming before, because it is true. I don't know you that well. And I was just wow, everything I read I was so impressed. I wish I knew you better.
I know. I feel we just get along just fine, Nancy.
I think we'd get along okay, old Nance. I'm just saying. But the part where you mentioned the birds just now, and that I didn't know, I read that you are a bird watcher. And I got to say, that is one of my things that gets me in the present moment. If I just go to this little lake near my house here where I run around every day and watch the geese migrate, and I have a thing with hawks. I can't even tell you, Adam, I don't know about you, but I have been able to, I know this, my last guest was a psychiatrist. She's in the past we might have pathologized that, but I literally can call in some hawks, and it is, you should ask Zach Moss. When we went up to his comedy festival up in South Dakota, we were all out in this beautiful lake area up in the Black Hills, And I said, let's call in some hawks. And 7 hawks came. And I have witnesses.
Whoa.
I have witnesses. But I don't know what it means other than I feel this spiritual, like I'm very spiritual. I definitely believe in the oneness, and it's just energy. And I don't quite understand how we've all decided to become whatever beings we are. But I do have a thing with hawks that feel like my spirit guides or something. I don't know. Do you have a spiritual relationship with birds, or it just?
Dude, Nancy, you're gonna be blown away. You gotta read my book. I'm not gonna like get into the whole thing, but with hawks, specifically red-tailed hawks, I had these crazy couple of experiences that felt like Lydia, and I kept them to myself. And then my mom shared another one with me. I didn't tell her anything. And this was like right after Lydia's death, and with a red-tailed hawk. And then I shared it with my mom, and then we both like sobbed. And it was just like, I have a red-tailed hawk tattooed on my body.
Oh my God. I had no idea. I had no idea of any of this. I'm telling you that.
I know. It's crazy.
That is really crazy. I believe it. I believe
it too. I also think, I don't know, like if people who have gone through trauma or tragedy are looking more for symbols and signs, or that because of that rawness, they're actually just more open to it. So it's coming. You know what I mean? Like it could go, you could argue either way.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was really profound for me and like gave me very good peace. And my mom as well. And the fact that it was happening to both of us at the same period was just fucking wild.
Yep.
And so I definitely have a huge connection there.
Oh my God. I love hearing this. I feel affirmed by it. I'm always looking for confirmation from spirit, and I get it. And you're right. I understand. I have a neighbor. I always talk about my neighbor he is a scientist, and I mean he and I, he's not open. He's all right hemisphere, and I mean, he's all left hemisphere, and I'm all right hemisphere of the brain. But it's moving, and I've been just really trusting my body more, my gut, and my what a guest of mine called it truth chills. When you get those goosebumps, I just feel like I don't know, man, where those come from, but I trust my truth chills now. I love
that.
Yeah, just
truth chills is a good term. I find I get that like with a lot of birding, especially you get. If you start birding, your neighborhood birds, you see them a lot, you have ones you like. But when you see something kind of like new, or a bird behaving in a weird way, like hunting or something, and it feels like a truth chill. It feels like nature's peeling the curtain back, and showing you like, look at this. This is what this thing is supposed to be doing on the earth, and very few people get to see it. And it's like this magic moment. I have that in any sort of nature animal setting. Like it doesn't have to just be birds, but like I guess that's the most accessible. Like anytime I see an owl, it's magic. Like I can remember every owl encounter I've ever had. They're rare. It's weird. It's usually nocturnal. They don't want you to see them, so if you see them, it's pretty impressive. Every owl is a gift to me.
Oh man, I'm so happy to hear this. Like this connection is moving me beyond. You have no idea. Like because as much as I see it and feel validated by it, it seems like I can't get enough validation. Like just to have one more. And somebody like you,
it's a high. It's a buzz.
It is a high. You're right. And I agree with you. You're just affirming too. I just need to spend more time in nature. And be, absolutely with these beautiful other beings that we're sharing the world with. I mean, I have a thing with squirrels. I've had a robin come right when I was telling a story about my dad and this robin. And come on. It never before or since has a robin lit on a little branch right outside my window like that. It was like, no way.
That's so cool.
At first I started saying, this is unbelievable. Now I just say, this is incredible, because
I like that.
It's a little shift.
Like that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those truth chills or those affirmations, and I'm so glad that you have that with Lydia, and know that I think you do know that. I mean, you still are communicating. I even wonder if she helped write your book with her, like with her spirit sitting right there, and then
I don't know.
I
remember as I was writing it, I was like crying a lot. So I'm like, this has got to be good. But I I have a way that I try to like communicate with it. We got like a bench, with a plaque on it. And I go there sometime in a park, and I go there. I'll often just stop in and say what's up. But like whenever, I don't ask her for much because it's weird to put that on someone who's gone. But like whenever there's a health thing with like my mom's, health has been deteriorating, and like I'll be like, all right, Lydia, whatever you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, so I do, like, when it's that essential, I'll call on her a little bit and be like, it's not your fault if it doesn't go right, but like whatever you got.
No pressure, Lydia, but
yeah,
but bring it. Yeah. And I'm sure.
Well, that also is a sort of like, look, it's mental illness, and I don't blame my sister in the least. And that took a lot of effort to get to past the anger of like, why? But I also am like, hey, me and my older sister got to watch mom and dad get old, and your ass has got to chip in from the other side too.
I like that a lot. I mean, mental illness is so complicated with the way, we gauge everything. I mean, if it were a word, like say this was a planet of empaths, I mean, your sister would have been a leader, right? She would have been a shining light and a leader, and everybody else would be insane. So
I think you're right about that.
I absolutely, like, I have a fantasy of like, may I please incarnate on the planet of empaths? I can't tell you how much energy it takes to wall off factory farming in my psyche. I can't even tell you.
Oh yeah.
Like, honest to God, I really can't like grasp like, what the hell are we doing?
I know.
I mean, it comes up, and then I can't, but this is where I've had to, I've got a spiritual mentor right now who's basically just helping me with those kind of boundaries, because otherwise, it's too much pain to, if you're empathizing with, every living creature that does not have a voice. And I know I gotta just touch in just for a second on last night when not last night, or when we did 51st jokes the other night. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It was so funny that you were the headliner of 51st jokes. And then I mean, I am a rambling fool. I really did not have a plan. And then I just start talking about my trauma, which is related to infancy, where I had no voice. And I feel like that is why I have this thing, like I have to be a voice for the voiceless, because I didn't have a voice. And I absolutely, and I truly am not even exaggerating. Like, I do really thank my mother for the gifts she gave me. I understand the lineage, but I was talking about something that's really heavy in a 2-minute comedy thing, trying to like, and let's talk about my infant trauma, where I felt like I was suffocated intermittently. And I love that you had the balls to go up there and just like, I don't know, just talk about that. Like, Nance.
Well, I mean, I love that you are bringing that. Like, that's the stuff I love in comedy. It's like, hey, this is what's going on in my brain, and here's a dose. I love it. But it just killed me that you had 2 minutes, and you're like, I'm going to get into the heaviest subject imaginable. And so I just had to like, yes, and that, and be like, okay, I'll take it from Nancy. Anyway, infant trauma. Like,
it was a 2-minute one-woman show. I can do this, Adam. You don't know the skills I have.
if you crack that code, you'll be the biggest. If you can TikTok a trauma show,
oh my God,
you'll be the biggest comic on the planet.
I'm so writing this down as if I'm not going to listen to this podcast later, but I'm going to write it down. I'm not I love that mini. Okay, here's our new challenge. I like this idea a lot. Mini 1-person show, 2-minute 1-person show. I like it. Let's do it. Let's challenge. Let's do the 2-minute. That would be wouldn't that be a great night? Go to a venue and see 2-minute 1-person shows. That like,
wow. That'd be wild.
Do you think we can give it?
I mean, I'd say you got to give the person 5.
Okay. My gut said 5 too. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I love this idea. Like, can you take us on a journey with the hero's, like the hero's journey, the arc, and have
it is a cool idea, because I do a one-man show about all this. That's like a crafted hour. So a 5-minute version would be wild. Yeah, I love it.
Let's take the challenge. I think it would be interesting. 5 minutes.
You're the person. I got too many shows I run.
Okay, yeah.
Your turn.
Okay, I'll take that one, and I'll invite you. You'll be
All right.
All right, and so your play is called Happy Place. I saw the name of it. I haven't seen it. Is that something that's still gonna tour?
Yeah, I'm just booked it in February. I'm going to do it again. I was doing it in 2020, and it was kicking butt. And I was doing all the festivals, and I was going to Edinburgh, and I had a big people bringing me over and a big stage and blah blah blah. And then pandemic and everything fell apart. And so then I trotted it out last year again, trying to see if I could like sell it because I really think it's good. And I don't want it to just go away. And I put a lot of work and effort into it, but it's also really hard on me to perform. Like I go there every time I perform.
Yeah.
And so, to just do that blindly, just cause with no goal in mind, feels wrong to me. And like, why am I suffering this hard? So I am doing it again in February, and I might try to do this little New York run to see if we can sort of make it a thing again. And then I'll just record it because I don't want to keep doing it forever. But my manager person has a good take on it, and we have a plan. So we'll see what happens with it. But I'm doing it in February in Denver, February 10th at the Buntport Theater.
Okay, I'm gonna come see it February 10th at the Buntport. Yeah, nice. I need to see it. I adore that genre of realness, and just authenticity is my love language. It's just anything that rings authentic, I get excited by. So oh my gosh, and it's something. So does this cover some of the things in your book, or is
it does? It does. It's the same story, but it's more like more stand up, and more kind of like about trying to be funny again after something like this happens.
Oh, perfect. Traumedy is here for people who may be isolated with trauma, may not be comedians, may not know how to take their pain and play with it, as Charlie Chaplin's famous line. And, the mission statement here is really just help heal ourselves and others. I think the more we process, every time we talk about stuff, it sort of, in a weird way, normalizes it. Not like it's normal to lose a sister or to have such severe trauma, but just that it is your new normal, and just...
Dude, that's exactly it. And I toured this show all around, and I can't tell you, how many people came up with I've had the same thing. Everyone's had some sort of experience with mental illness, at least anyway. It's not 6 degrees of separation. It's one. Everybody knows someone who struggled with mental health. And when this happened to me, as your trauma, I'm sure it's well, this is me. As this is a huge part of me, and I'm not going to hide it. And I don't know, for me, that was ownership of it. I'm not going to lead with it because I understand it might make you uncomfortable. But if you're going to get to know me past anything, you will know this about me. And so guess what? I'll tell you about it up front. And now you know what I mean?
Yes. And just the idea that, especially I think around suicide with family members, and how many people do keep it a secret or try to reframe it, or, it's because there's some shame around it or something. Why? I do understand why in a way, but man, this is where the empowerment is. And like you said, man, what a gift to all the people that have kind of felt, in the closet. It's just...
Yeah. And the shame is it was more about, it's about you letting go of the shame. And that's where it's where for me, it had to be really accepting of okay, mental illness. This is what my sister had. So now I don't blame her. I don't think, what if we did X, Y, and Z different? It's just and it's the cliche example, but it's just well, she had cancer, and nobody would sit there and argue with me about that if she just had cancer. And I've really come to view it as that. It's her brain turned on her and it fucking sucked. And so if I'm going to view that as not a crime or anything shameful, then I need to tell people that.
When you started with the blog and that went viral, and then the book, and then I just feel this widening angle of your sister and you healing and helping just heal a bunch of people. There's no better word. I use the word healing. I really feel like you've brought a lot of healing with your work. It's just amazing to me.
Thanks. But the truth is, I was wary of doing any of this because I don't want to be self-helpy or cheesy. And so for me, it really is about like the work being good and like not landing in the self-help section of the bookstore. Like I
Ah.
really like, because that's what my sister and I would mock. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
so it had to be more like, I don't know, in the spirit of type of art that I admire. And so it's not like okay, everyone, like let's gather around and kumbaya this thing. It's like, no, it's just a funny, real approach, you know?
Yeah, I do. And yet I'm thinking maybe I should put in the descriptors of Traumedy. It's self-help and cheesy. I think I
That is
do.
totally fine, because that has a place. And like, I don't think you're funny, so already it's better. But like, I'm just not wired that way.
Yeah.
You know, I was a journalist for a while. I'm pretty cynical, and I'm like, show me the facts, while
Yeah.
also being spiritual. So I had to think, with everything that I've done, I'm like, would Lydia like this? Would Lydia laugh at this? And would Lydia not think it's too heavy-handed? Because
Yeah.
the good art sort of lulls you into it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh God, that just gutted me because I was having a good time and I didn't expect it to go that sad. And that's the stuff I love. So I don't want to be like, I don't want to surprise you or scar you, but I don't want to lead with trauma. Actually, I want to lead with comedy or like a interesting read, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. So to me, what I'm hearing you say is like the art is primary, like that it needs to be, needs to be high art. And then what you deduce or infer from that is up to the recipient, you know, the viewer or the reader. And that is not the primary, maybe for you was honestly, like, it sounds like just needing to express, like you had a need to express, that's real art, right? Where there's like, I have a need. It's a need. I have to get this out. But then to do it.
For sure. And all this sounds pretentious, but it's like, it's true. It's like how my sisters and I grew up. And it's just like, we very much admire artists and art. And so for one to say, I am that is vain. So I would never say that. But it's what I aspire to. So it's like, I really, and then it has to do with also tributing Lydia, who sniffed through any bullshit and read, you know, Milan Kundera and like just liked all these really incredible artists and the highbrow stuff. So it's like, you better be doing it, or at least aiming for there, if you want your sister to like it, because otherwise she's on the other side rolling her eyes at you.
Well, that's amazing. I don't know who Milan Kundera is.
He's this Czech writer who's amazing. He's got this book called like The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Oh, he wrote that. Of course, I only know of it from the film. As a person who's read a couple of books, I'm still trying to get through Jane Eyre. But anyway,
she was very like magical realism. So like Gabriel Garcia Marquez and, you know, just like where sort of fantasy and magic bleeds into the world, into the sad, sad world. And it's perfect. Like that's who she was, you know?
Wow. Well, now that you're sharing all of this, I mean, I think you're entitled to be a little bit arrogant.
Well, people certainly have lobbied that against me before. So
I mean, at what point is it not arrogance and just a fact that you are in fact smarter than the average bear? You know what I mean? Like you're very well, obviously very well read, things I don't even know about. Like I am an average, I would say below average. I don't know. Intellect, it's an interesting thing, intellect. I'm an oral learner, obviously. I like to hear spoken word. I learn from people. I am highly observant, but I am not well schooled or educated in any of those ways. I'm just more of an intuitive kind of being.
Well, I really respect.
No, but I just really respect intellectuals. I just don't. I don't have this particular problem.
Yeah, but it's also like I've learned to be like, well, everybody's got their area of expertise. Like we talked about EMDR for 2 minutes and you were telling me stuff I had never even heard before that was fascinating. So it's like, it's just areas where you focus your attention, you know what I mean? And that's what my mom was a writer and my dad is a civil rights attorney. And it was kind of a house of a lot of books, you know?
Yeah. When you're raised by intellectuals and then, the blessing and the curse of that, which I have witnessed, I'm very attracted to. Most of my partners have been highly intellectual. My dad was scholarly, and just everything he read, and he had this amazing memory. He remembered everything. I mean, he just could, like you talk about a filing system. My dad could pull out files till the end of his life. He was able to retrieve information that I couldn't believe. But so I'm always kind of attracted to them because I'm like, I want to win the love of my dad. Even so,
yeah.
But the thing I witnessed, and I don't know if this is where, going back to the EMDR and healing, it is a little hard when you have this is my, what I've witnessed, and maybe I'm wrong, but tell me if I am. It's a little hard sometimes to land in that surrender because your brain has such bravado of like keeping you safe through intellectual processes that sometimes it's hard to land in your body and just be, just be.
That is so astute. And that's what I was kind of saying with like my approach to therapy was kind of like, okay, who's this asshole? And like even looking at like the diploma on the wall and being like, that's a shitty school. Like just not being open to it. Yeah. And like, that's like your vanity is getting in the way of your survival, man. And like, I just had to sort of take off the intellectual cap and just feel and be real about it all. And I think I thought being smarter than everybody could be the weapon that could get me to succeed more than anybody. And then like this happens. It's like, oh, intelligence doesn't even matter, dude. You're like wounded and everything is hurting and sad and you are a raw nerve. So, and your brain is kind of turning on you and you just watch your sister's brain turn on her. So it's like every tool you had, I had to sort of chuck it out the window and like surrender to EMDR. I think I would have died.
Yeah, and the fact that you were willing to do that says a lot. I mean, that took a lot of courage because that is your way of being safe. That is in your lineage. I'm sure you come from a long line of highly intelligent people who have made themselves safe by sizing up situations and doing, the smartest thing. And then it's not a cognitive process. You cannot talk yourself out of PTSD. You cannot think your way out of it. It's not cognitive. It has to go into that midbrain place near the hippocampus. Anyway, I'm going to embarrass myself because it's like, wait, Nance, it's the amygdala. It's not the hippocampus. But in the midbrain, where you really, it's not an intellectual process, and it is.
No, you're totally right.
So I just admire you as I'm going to say, highly intellectual person to be that vulnerable. So.
Well, thank you. My whole family I consider very smart, and everybody immediately realized how fucked up we all are, and we all know therapy, and we all have gone to therapy, and we don't dismiss it. We respect it and know it's valuable. So we all immediately started going to therapy. But it was a matter of, and I tell people this all the time, like, you ever tried to find 4 shrinks on a moment's notice? Real mixed bag. Like, so it was a matter of trial and error. And I think all of my family sort of did a good job of navigating that and finding people who could help them out,
Yeah. And in this kind of odd and maybe surprising way, I'm just guessing that your sister's death actually helped you all evolve as a family.
It did, but it's not. I don't know about that. Like, that you want to like put a silver lining on it and be like, and now we're closer than ever or something. But
no,
it is. It's just like
I'm back to my cheesy.
Yeah, it's just there is no healing.
Yeah,
it is always worse. Yeah. I'm always sad about it. Yeah. There's always an empty chair. And we've filled our lives out with wives and children, and it's like I got a lot of reasons to be happy, but I'm still always lacking this person.
Yeah.
And then I always tell people, like, to think you're going to land at this place of, and now I'm healed, is naive.
Yeah.
You can be better, you can be less pulled down by it, but it is always going to suck. And at some point you will come to that realization, and it's just how it is. It's like you're missing a limb now, and you just learn how to navigate life with one less limb.
Yeah. Thanks for, I have a problem with, I just read about this in my recovery work, is bright siding. Like, I definitely do that. I want the bright side. I'm like, and the silver lining of like, my mother gave me these gifts by, being cruel to me. I really do. Well, I do want that. I do. There is a thing called post-traumatic growth. And so I do still, even though you're saying that, and it doesn't mean those are not mutually exclusive things that you still miss your sister, but I would be curious to know if you felt like you had some post-traumatic growth from this experience, even though I get that doesn't compensate for the loss.
I think so. I mean, there are lots of growth. Like you're talking about it, like getting out of your brain and getting into how you actually feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
you're more present. I bet you're more emotionally available for your kids and wife. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, being able to tap into sort of a luckiness of being alive place when I want to. Yeah. I have to think about it because my go-to is to be a cynical asshole. That's like what I do. But I can quickly, but I'm actually like very emotional and very like soft and appreciative of everything around me. So like there definitely is that as well. It's just kind of like enjoy the ride type of thing. Whenever I'm like getting too bogged down about career stuff or depressed about the state of the world or whatever, it's like, buddy, you are a blip in the history of the planet. And you get to experience it all. So book airfare to a cool place and check it out.
I love that. That's a perfect place to pause and reflect as we
yes.
as the Traumedy podcast. This episode, oh my God, this has been a surprise and a delight. And I do think that juxtaposition of your acerbic, wit with the heartfelt realism, that I love that you have that capacity now that you can drop into your heart and share from there, and also then get super sarcastic at the same time. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I was just reading that you have a brand new comedy special, which why don't we tell people? Why don't we tell people? Yeah. What's your special?
The new special is called Wallpaper. It's just all about fatherhood. It's like my fatherhood special. But it's the most, I never filmed one. This was a big elaborate 3-camera shoot and looks great. And it's on 800 Pound Gorilla YouTube, which is like a big comedy label. And I'll shoot you a link. So it's in the show notes right there. I think it's for purchase right now. Pay whatever you want. But as of January 18th, it's free to the world. So I don't know when this will come out, but just so your listeners know, if it's post January 18th, it's free.
That's 2024, January 18th. Get Wallpaper. Oh, I can't wait. I am gonna devour everything. I mean, I don't know. You have written more than I've ever read, so it's gonna take a while for old Nance.
No pressure, Nancy. No pressure.
Thank you so much, Adam Cayton-Holland. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I just big hugs to you.
Yeah, right back at you. It's nice to chat with you and connect this way. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, and let me know if you see a hawk today. Would you please just send me a text if you see one?
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. I just have a funny
feeling
feeling about it. Okay. All right.
I love that.
All right. Peace and love, man. Bye.
All right. Bye, Nancy.
I'd like to thank my guest, Adam Cayton-Holland. Check out 800 Pound Gorilla's YouTube channel. There's a link in the show notes below so that you can see Adam Cayton-Holland's special, Wallpaper. Also, tickets are available for his one-man show, Happy Place. Don't miss it. Last but not least, go to Simon & Schuster and get a copy of Tragedy Plus Time. If you want to see Nurses Off the Charts, check out my show links. And if you have anything you'd like to share with me, hit that button at the bottom of my link tree. Tell us what happened. As always, I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, for providing the music. I want to thank you, the listener. I hope this podcast is healing you half as much as it's healing me. Tune in every Tuesday, new episodes, Traumedy Tuesdays. No matter what, keep laughing.